Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today we're going to talk about Polkadot. So if you guys like the content, please subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. So we mainly talk about 5 coins on the channel. However, Polkadot is the one we talk the least about, primarily because this channel is focused on data, historical data, looking at trends, and for Polkadot, there just simply is not a lot of it. However, I do want to occasionally do videos on it because I do want to maintain a steady stream of some level of analysis as we go on throughout the next several years on Polkadot. So make sure you guys subscribe to the channel if you like the content and give the video a thumbs up. Let's go ahead and jump in. So as we've said for a while now, I think, and I could be wrong, and this is not financial advice, of course, but I think this is a theoretical accumulation phase, right? Just generally an accumulation phase of Polkadot, especially against USD. You can kind of see it sort of had a downtrend for the first few months, and then after those few months it sort of come back into maybe some sort of an uptrend if you look at it like that. So we might say that when it first launched, it had this euphoria about it. People just started buying it like crazy, and then came back down to earth a little bit. But it's more or less just been in an accumulation phase, right? It hasn't done anything that significant. This peak here, this local top, we're not going to include this first launch, right? But the local top is approximately $6.80, maybe around $7 or so. So that's where that's ultimately where we would want to see it get above before we could say, okay, it's put in a new all-time high. Now, the only thing we really have on this chart right now is I have the 50-day moving average. So the 50-day moving average is not a very it's not as significant as a time frame because we're looking at a pretty small window. But it is interesting to see that we had a wick straight down to the 50-day moving average, maybe a little bit of support here. Again, I don't really think these are that useful, but I just want to talk about what we can talk about, and there's just not a whole lot to talk about. So what I would want to see is just this accumulation phase continue for a bit longer, and note that this is more or less where we topped out. I mean, it was around $6 or so. And we're definitely on the right track at this point in order to get back to that level. If we continue at the same rate, maybe we'll get there back in January. But the purpose of this video is not to look at things in terms of USD, because to be completely honest, right, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to measure it in terms of USD, because if we're taking on the risk of a new cryptocurrency and we're not putting those dollars into a different cryptocurrency, then there's that opportunity cost. And if Polkadot can say not outperform Bitcoin or Ether over a long, over a year or two period at all, then it would not make sense to hold it. And over the short term, it in fact has not outperformed them. However, when you have market conditions like this one, we would not expect it to outperform Bitcoin. When Bitcoin is having 2 months of incredible price action, most coins will bleed against it. And let me show you what I mean. So this is the dot chart against Bitcoin. So it trended upwards at first. This was when it first launched. And since then, it has trended down from, let's take the top of this candle here, it has trended down about 50% against Bitcoin. However, a lot of coins have trended down against Bitcoin because a lot of coins have not moved that much when Bitcoin went from 10K to 20K. Yes, a lot of coins did, but some coins were having mania phases in the summer, and they've bled significantly against Bitcoin during that time period. So to see it down 50% against Bitcoin during the time that Bitcoin was going from 10K up to 20K or 19K or so is not that surprising, right? It's not that surprising to see something like that. However, we will want to see this turn around at some point. Now, the other thing I think it's important to talk about is, can we look to see prior cycles? Were there coins that did something similar? And of course, the answer is yes. If you go back a cycle and look at the Ethereum Bitcoin valuation from this local top here, in fact, let's actually zoom in so we can get a pretty clear reading here. From this top, if we just go from, say, the candle, it dropped at the bottom. Ethereum dropped about 75, 76% against Bitcoin before this move, but it was still macro down until over here. So it dropped around 70% over 148 days. So about half a year, not quite half a year, it dropped 70% against Bitcoin. But it did not preclude it from this point from pumping, 1,700%. Now, we are one market cycle later. I think most of us would expect the ROIs on even newer coins to the space to be lower. That's just the way it is. The market is maturing, and we're not going to see as crazy moves as we saw last cycle. Again, it doesn't mean there's not a lot of money to be made, theoretically. It just means that we need to be cognizant of the fact that the ROI would likely be less. So you look at Ethereum and see, okay, well, it trended down by 70% over 148 days against Bitcoin. And then you go back and look at DOT and you see, okay, well, it's down about 52%, 53%. From the wick of this candle, it's down about 55%, on about 98 days. So about 100 days, approximately 50 days shy of how long it took Ethereum to move against Bitcoin. So it's not that this move is necessarily a showstopper for Polkadot. It just is the phase of the market cycle that it launched. It launched in a bull market, which I mean, if it had not been a bull market, then I think Polkadot would not be anywhere close to $5. It would probably be a lot less if we were, say, in like 2018 or 2019, early or various parts of 2019. Maybe not the first half of the year, but if it had launched in the second half of the year, then the price would have probably dropped from here. However, every market cycle, there seems to be some coins that, they come into the market at a really good time. And as far as in terms of USD, it is holding up relatively well, right? Despite the ups and downs of the market, DOT has mostly been between, $3 to $6, right? Mostly between $3 to $6, and it hasn't really veered much from those levels. So I would call this just a theoretical accumulation phase of Polkadot. And it has trended down against Bitcoin over the last 100 days by about 53%. We do know that Ethereum also trended down against Bitcoin when it was first launched. Part of it's not a fair comparison because when things like this that are super hyped first launch, they can pump significantly, right? I mean, this one pumped 150% from just the candles, not the wicks, against Bitcoin when it launched. If you go look at Polkadot, from the bottom down here, it pumped around 200%. From when it first launched. If you take it from right here, it also pumped about 120% from when it first launched. So it's not always a fair comparison because there's a lot of, mania hype that happens early on. Then we come back down to earth while Bitcoin sort of does its thing for a little while. So looking to see where it launched around this level before this mania kind of took over, we were around this level. And if we were to, say, draw a rectangle that kind of encapsulates these few candles right here, right? So just the top of that left candle over there, you can see we've come back down to where we first launched. And this is the Polkadot Bitcoin valuation, the DOT Bitcoin valuation. So I would say this, in terms of its Bitcoin valuation, I don't think there's a whole lot to be worried about, just because it's not often fair to judge an asset's performance based on a mania phase that was somewhat irrational at the time, right? It dropped and then it went crazy. And so now we've kind of come back down to earth. I think people are accumulating it. Obviously, you can stake it a few different places. And we saw something similar with Ethereum before it made its move. Now, just because Ether made a nice move against Bitcoin obviously does not automatically indicate that Polkadot will. I just personally think it's worth having one new project in the portfolio at least to ride throughout the market cycle. There's no really any mental barriers for it because it has not experienced a bull market. And if it does experience a bull market, there's really just no telling how high it could theoretically go. I mean, the market cap for Polkadot is significantly less than Ethereum by about an order of magnitude. Now, I do contend that Ethereum is a lot safer of an asset. It's a lot less risky, and I hold way more Ethereum than Polkadot. But if you're looking for Ethereum hedges, obviously we talk about Cardano as one of them. Polkadot is another, I think, viable option if you want, a slightly more exposure to the market. We have done a couple videos on Polkadot. We mainly talk about it on the live streams, but again, I do want to do a dedicated video to Polkadot every once in a while. So now the market is relatively calm for Polkadot, right? It hasn't done a whole lot yet, but hopefully over the next couple years, we'll be able to revisit this, right? Hopefully we'll be able to revisit this and see, at some point, whether, however, wherever it comes down to, at some point, hopefully there's like a turnaround point, and then it starts to really move against Bitcoin and really move back up the ladder. So that is the USD valuation has actually been trending up recently. I mean, I think a lot of people are actually relatively happy because unfortunately a lot of people think of it in terms of its its USD valuation. You can see it's up approximately 30% since late October. So in about a month and a half, it's up about 30%. Now, if you look at the Ethereum valuation, though, it's also kind of similar. And this is something we're going to want to keep an eye on because a lot of times when I think about holding altcoins, I want them to, they need to at various phases outperform Ethereum. Otherwise, you cannot really, in my mind, it's not financial advice, but you just cannot justify holding them. But again, it suffers from that pump that it started off at 120% up. Now it's down about 50%. It's getting close to the same levels, right? But still kind of far away from when it first launched, right? So it's just something to consider. If Ethereum were to pump to say $700 or $800 and Polkadot did not, then that could be a situation where you would continue to see this trend down, and so hopefully we will see some type of stabilization here soon for the .ether valuation and the .bitcoin valuation. I mean, this could be the beginning of a turnaround point. Of course, we simply do not know yet. So again, if you're looking for, if you're new to the cycle, if you're new to cryptocurrency, generally I mainly talk about Bitcoin, and that Bitcoin is the main one. Like if we knew that the market, let's say we know the market does well over the next 5 years, then we're pretty sure that we can basically be almost certain that Bitcoin did well. But just because the market does well does not mean that all the cryptocurrencies do well. You can look at a lot of cryptocurrencies that had peaks in 2013 and did not really do that well in 2017. There's going to be cryptocurrencies that did well in 2017 and 2018, early 2018, that will not do well this market cycle. It's just the way it is, right? Some projects just are fleeting moments in time. You grab the ROI, and if you don't, it never comes back. So I think it's worth, in my opinion, having a slightly diversified portfolio, but I don't want to I don't want to spread it around too much, because at some point, to me, it's just not worth tracking a lot of different coins and then having less exposure into the projects that I really want exposure to. So again, the main projects that I focus on are Bitcoin, Ethereum, and this is in order of personal importance: Bitcoin, Ethereum, Link, Cardano, and Polkadot. Bitcoin, Ether, Link, ADA, and DOT, Bella, DOT for short. So these are the main 5, right, that I like to talk about, and of course we're going to do a video on Polkadot every once in a while. So let me know what you guys think. Again, if Polkadot's not really your thing, you still might consider other projects that might be relatively new to the market, and just ride. You could ride them throughout for the duration of the market cycle. There's certainly other coins that do have merit and that could do very well over the next few years. But I just think it can be too cumbersome if you start throwing a lot of money at like 100 different altcoins, because let's say you throw $100 at 100 different altcoins, and one of them goes up 10x, or say one of them goes up 100x. And then, well, let's keep it more simple. Let's say 10 coins. Let's say you put $100 into 10 coins. So you put $1,000 total, and then one coin goes up 10x, and then the other ones go to 0. Then you've basically done nothing with your money, because you put in $1,000. 9 of them went to 0. 1 of them went to 1,000. You're back at 1,000. Whereas if you had just put that money in Ether or Bitcoin, you probably would have done a lot better, right? Because the opportunity cost of putting it into projects that ultimately just go to 0. So in the same manner, if 9 of the projects went to 0 and one went up 100x, then you see a 10x on your investment. But then you have to compare that to say, what if you just put all that into something like Ethereum, and Ethereum went up 10x, which I think there's a reasonable argument for Ether going up 10x, especially even from now potentially, right? I mean, at $600 going to $6,000 over the next few years, I think is theoretically on the cards. Certainly going up from the bottom, $100 going up 10x, or $80 going up 10x is not even that far away from where we currently are, right? I mean, it was $80 earlier this year, and it's already at $600. So if it were to get to $800, that's a 10x already. So there's always the opportunity cost you have to think about. So when we talk about projects that are not, say, Bitcoin and Ethereum, they need to have a reason. And I think Chainlink has a reason because it tends to do very distinct sub-cycles against Bitcoin. I think ADA has these sub-cycles against Ethereum. DOT is kind of like the, just like that one, we really don't know what it's going to do. I'm not even trying to trade it at all. I'm just accumulating it. And we'll see what happens, right? We'll see what happens. And we'll be there every step of the way. So if you guys like the content, please subscribe to the channel. Give the video a thumbs up. Also check out the Telegram channel in the description below. Remember, we do have the Black Friday sale for the premium list going on still, so you can check that out in the description below as well. You get access to weekly premium reports, weekly videos, a risk dashboard, a Telegram alerts channel, a Telegram chat room, and some of the trading view indicators that we have for some of the different coins. Now, for Bitcoin, because it's getting to the point where it might be trending sideways. We're not 100% sure yet if it's going to trend sideways. But if we just pull this over and look to see where Bitcoin is, let's go back to, say, the weekly time frame. We've noted some similarities, but potentially between this move and the move at 10K. If you look at 10K or so, it's around this level. 20K again is around this level right here. We had seven green candles, right? 7 green candles. This red one here, right? Like a spinning top or whatever. Another red one right here, same type of thing, followed by a green candle. And if we have this reaccumulation phase for Bitcoin at this level, if in fact that happens and it goes sideways, then that could be a catalyst for Polkadot, right? That could be a catalyst for Polkadot against USD and against Bitcoin. I'm not sure if it would be against Ether, but I think for sure against Bitcoin, or for sure against USD and probably against Bitcoin, if Bitcoin starts trending sideways. I mean, and we'll see what happens, right? I mean, if Bitcoin's going sideways and DOT's going up to $7 or $8, of course it's trending up against USD and against Bitcoin. So we're obviously going to keep an eye on that. Now, if Bitcoin were to come down to the bull market support, which, by the way, again is the place where we hold support during a bull market, right? This is where we hold support during a bull market. If it comes back down there, then we would still expect DOT to bleed against Bitcoin, right? It might not sound fair. Well, it's just the way it is, right? Life's not always fair. So if Bitcoin were to trend back down to the 20-week moving average without going sideways, like something like that, then I think things are going to be put on hold for the altcoin market for a bit longer. However, if we're lucky and we go sideways at this level, then I think there's a good chance that we see some type of turnaround point here, and then hopefully we're off to the races. So if you guys like the content, help me get to 70,000 subscribers. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up. Also turn on your notifications so you'll be notified of future videos. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know if you want more videos on Polkadot. That'll wrap it up for the video, and I will see you next time. Bye.